Dude, nobody cares about your hair. We're on a radio show.
I care about my hair.
We're on a radio show. It's radio, son.
I still care about my
It's
hair.
radio. You're okay?
Okay, here you go.
Hey, this is Steve Noble from my friend Taylor
what?
Fisher at Landmark.
Never mind.
That was a commercial. I said we're a few minutes.
Yeah, 1 minute, my bad.
1 minute. Yep.
I can tell you graduated from Roseville High School, didn't you? Are you at the seminary?
Huh?
Are you at the seminary?
No, he's at Wake
No.
Tech, right?
Are you at Wake Tech?
Yeah, wait, take.
Wake Tech's okay. Nothing
Sorry,
wrong with Tech.
I was looking at the wrong clock. This one over here, and this other computer is one behind for some reason.
All right.
Steve's got us on a delay because he don't want Chris to say that we shouldn't.
No. Yeah. We're trying to keep all the Gabe Shirley girl fan club.
They got a mute button that's 30 seconds
Yeah.
long.
Was it actually?
Yeah. Rumor has it the
Do I
guy,
hear the
the
mute
guy
button?
fan club is larger.
10 seconds.
Rumor has it. Rumor. It's rumored. It's rumored. It's not approved
I
yet.
don't know. I might have to prove that.
Okay,
Might have to
here you
with
go.
Wake up, everyone. It's time for the Steve Noble Show, where biblical Christianity meets the everyday issues of life in your home, at work, and even in politics. Steve is an ordinary man who believes in an extraordinary God. And on his show, there's plenty of grace and lots of truth, but no sacred cows. Call Steve now at 866-34-TRUTH. That's 866-34-TRUTH. Or check him out online at thestevenobleshow.com. And now, here's your host, Steve Noble.
Well, this is not the Steve Noble Show because he is not here. This is Chris Connell filling in for Steve today, and we're really excited about our guest today. We have a very serious topic, life after death, we're going to be talking about, but it's great to have you guys here. I'm a friend of Steve's, got to know him way back in 06 when we did the Greg Laurie Harvest Crusade today here in the Raleigh-Durham area. And if you have a question for our guest today, we can't take call-ins, but we can get your question. You can go to the Steve Noble Show on Facebook and comment there. You can also call 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH, and the engineers will pick that up in Winston-Salem, and they can type your question out or comment. Again, we won't be able to bring you on live today, but today is an important day, an exciting day. So my guest today... Now, if you are a fan of redneck television, then you're going to know these folks, okay? This is Ron Shirley of Lizard Lick Towing fame and his son Gabe of ballet fame, because he's a huge ballerina, aren't you, Gabe? Russian ballet. And so Ron and his wife Amy had a television show called Lizard Lick Towing, and I still get mad because Gabe... When I go anywhere with your dad, I always tell him, nobody here knows you. And I've been to some real bougie places, and some blue-haired lady will walk up and say, oh, I love your show, and I want to get a photo with you. So, anyway, it makes me sick. And but anyway, I will say this one thing about the Shirley family. Nobody lacks self-esteem in this family. Isn't that true?
Maybe Juju. Maybe the dog.
Maybe the dog. Maybe the dog.
What about Bacon Bix? Does Bacon Bix...
Bacon Bits and Quackers, oh no, they're bound for stardom. They're on the way.
Make it feel good too, better than I do.
Yeah.
5-star.
For the listener's sake, Bacon Bits are is a pig, right?
That's our protection pig.
Yeah, that pig can't protect nothing. And maybe it's
protects
football.
quackers. It takes care of quackers, the blind duck.
All right. Anyway, we're on the Steve Noble Show, and I know we're having a fun time, but we actually have a serious subject because. Ron, you've got a family, and there's a young man named Alex, that's your son. And in fact, my daughter Olivia was in classes with him, or went at the school that he went to when they were like back in elementary school.
Yep.
And Alex passed away tragically. How long ago now? It's not that long.
7 months tomorrow.
It's been 7 months.
7 months tomorrow.
All right. How old was Alex?
21.
21. Mm-hmm. So today I wanted to talk about this because this is it's a tragedy. Now, is God good? Is Alex in heaven? We believe that we know that he's in heaven, but this is a challenging situation. So the first thing I want to ask is, Alex was a young man who did have some challenges, right? There were some battles he had, right? And it seemed like in the last season of his life that he had come to a point where he was leaving a lot of that stuff behind and was in a better place. But if you don't mind telling, what happened to Alex?
You want me to answer this?
If you want, I can answer
Yeah, you
it.
can answer it. Go
Right
ahead.
there. Like,
Stand the mic.
how
Just go ahead and tell them what happened to him.
He went to a balloon release where one of his friends had died. I've never been, so I don't really know what it's like. But I guess they pulled him up in a tighter parking place, and these boys came behind him, not even to his face, and just lit him up with guns, bullets through the car, everything. Then we think that he might have been alive on the way to Sheets, but not for certain.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sheets because a young lady, I think, was driving the vehicle.
There was 5 people in the vehicle. They fired 21 shots, 20 or 21. 7 penetrated Alex's body. 3 were fatal shots. The girl beside him took 2 to her spine. She's permanently paralyzed. All I can say is by the grace of God, the other 3 people in the vehicle were unharmed.
Yeah.
And that's definitely, when there's 20, 21 shots that go through a car for 3 people to walk away is, man, if anybody says anything but God, I don't know how they could. Just the odds of somebody else getting hit out of 14 more bullets is astronomical. But he left us that day in body, but his death serves a greater purpose. So.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Ron, how I found out, and Gabe, I found out was, I think it was a posting that you did, Ron, from the parking lot where he was. I still remember that, and I couldn't believe that you had the courage to do that. This is still raw. It's still fresh. It's difficult. I don't think there's anything harder in life. What goes through your mind in a day like that?
Kind of in shock. You don't really like, you don't expect it because it's not like it was an older person. He was still young. You think that everything's gonna be fine. It's kind of like you just don't believe he's gone yet. You're still waiting for him to come back through those doors and just scream at you like every other day.
Do you still wait for that?
I do sometimes. I still wait for him to come back. Or when we're at his funeral, I waited for him to wake up out of the casket and tell me it's a joke.
Yeah.
Because that's something he would do.
Yeah,
honestly.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. He had a big personality.
Yeah.
Huge personality. Left a huge impact on a lot of people.
Yeah, he did. He did. It's not the natural order of things, Ron, to have your child pass before you do. The natural order of things is you want your kids to outlive you, kind of a thing. Obviously, you're sitting here in the studio across from me. I can tell from the emotion this is difficult. It would be difficult for me. So just for the listener's sake, I talked to Ron ahead of time and said, "You up for talking about this?" And he said, "Yeah, I am." But there can't be anything harder in life.
Oh man, do I get upset? Yeah. There's harder things. Loss. God teaches us loss is part of life. From the day that creation was developed, Cain killed Abel. I mean, the first thing you see in the Bible is Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel, and Cain kills Abel. Doesn't kill him because he hates him. He kills him because he's jealous. Loss is part of life. And unless you've been through it, I don't know what it's like to lose a spouse, a mom, a dad. I do know what it's like to lose a brother. I do know what it's like to lose a child. But all loss is hard. But the thing that keeps me going, I think that keeps Amy going and the family going is, God promises us that in times of trials and tribulations, you take heart.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be joyful when you lose something because, God had a bigger plan. And we do know that Alex went to heaven, so therefore, though it's hard on us as people, we know we'll see him again. And so, honestly, as bad as it hurts, sometimes it's easy to talk about, sometimes it's hard to talk about, but in the end, God has a greater purpose. And the biggest thing we have to have is faith. And I have faith that I'll see him when I cross.
You're listening to Steve Noble Show. Our guest, Ron Shirley, Life After Death. We'll be right back.
I just missed it.
Because I got a stronger soul.
I can't believe your dad did not tell you what, because I asked him, can you...
He didn't tell me a thing. I was like, what am I going to
He's
do?
good, man. He's good.
Gabe's
going to change lives with this whole situation.
Well, the issue was, I'm like, are we going to a concert or something? Because I was wearing a shirt before it.
Dude, the shirt he had on said...
It said...
Listen, I ain't kidding. I had to get on it. It said guns, alcohol, and girls for a party. What is that? What is that?
It was guns, alcohol, and tobacco. That's a party.
Yeah, I was like, we are not winning out on the show.
What a fantastic witness.
What kind of crap is that? He wore a hat to church like 3 weeks ago. What was that hat?
It said whiskey band.
It said whiskey band. I was
like, you gotta come to church and get saved of what you're hungover.
But you can't wear that to church.
I was like, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm like, bro, you can't wear that to church.
If you can't tell, these are real folks. So anyway,
We have flaws. We definitely, honestly, of all families, we have more flaws. You know what? We're the Paul family. That's what we are.
Who's the Paul
hey,
family?
I had
Saul to Paul.
a Sheehan Rendell, I may not be saying her first name right. She wrote, I lost my dad 24 hours after giving birth in June. How do you handle it so well? I'm so sorry for your loss, Ron and Amy and the family. How do you handle it so well?
Faith.
Faith.
Hey, what do you think, Faith?
Faith. Most definitely faith. Having people there for you.
Now, there's all kinds of faith. What kind of faith are you talking
Faith in
about?
God.
Christian faith.
Faith in the belief that you're going to see him again. Faith in the belief that God says all things work for the good of glory through him. I mean, you know, the fact that I firmly believe, Chris, and this is just me and you talking, but I firmly believe had Alex not died, he might have went back to his lifestyle. And he could have turned away from God. At the moment he died, I knew he was with God.
That
So,
guy may have known that was...
and God knows more than we know, bro. You know, so faith, just faith in what the words written in that book are, in those 66 books.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I think I get through. We get through it.
Same place. Reading the Bible gets me through it.
But you have faith, but doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, does it?
It
Look.
definitely hurt.
Abraham was willing to put a knife through his son's chest. I mean, I'm being serious. Through faith. He was willing to kill his own son. Well, I couldn't imagine killing my child.
Yeah.
And God was willing to let his child die for our sins. And he could have took him off the cross any time. So the way I figured is if Abraham could have killed his child and God let his child die, then I want my child to begin with, brother.
And there's something about being a follower of Christ when I've lost loved ones. There's something about knowing, if they knew the Lord, there's something about knowing, as painful as it is, as bad as it hurts, as confusing as it can be, there's something about knowing, like, this life is not the end.
It's not.
You know, there's something about, like, when somebody dies in an unexpected way or an expected way, there's something about that gift of the knowledge that this life is short.
God,
That-
think about that.
Yeah, and it brings a reality of eternity. And that's one of the gifts that Alex brought into your life, was that reality, like, hey, this is not our home. You know, we're not going to be here forever. And, you know, I had a cousin that, in fact, I was with my aunt and uncle last night for dinner, and I had a cousin that, we'll be back on here in about a minute and a half. I was 13, and he was 12, and I was 12 and he was 13, but we were only like 6 months apart, and he died of a heart attack in his sleep one night, as a fluke. I mean, just complete, there was no reason, like no knowledge, I'll say there was no knowledge of any type of condition he had. And that side of my family is Italian, and they did a 3-day open casket wake in a 12 years old man. I just remember thinking, wow, life is short. Life is short, you know, and that's one of the, maybe gift is the wrong word, but I feel like it may be appropriate that when a loved one passes, it's a gift to remind you, like, hey, life is short, you know, and yet at the same time, if you know the Lord, it's also eternal, like it's also forever, you know. And the older I get, the longer my list gets of people that I look forward to seeing again.
Oh, that's the greatest thing. Is I told Amy the other day, I said, you know, for the first time in my life, for the first time I made a list of the people I'm going to see when I get to heaven. I'm like, I know these people are going to be here. I know my grandma, my grandpa. I mean, you know, Alex is going to be at the gate. So I think that's the greatest part, Bo, is this is a blink of an eye. And I truly think Alex's death made me realize I'm not immortal.
Yeah.
It really brought me to my mortality.
Okay, you got about 10 seconds.
10 seconds. And make sure you guys take. Are they hearing them okay now on the mic?
They want Gabe to come a little bit closer.
Yeah. And make sure it's straight at your mouth.
Always.
Because what happens as soon as it's directional,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
Oh, okay.
Keep your mouth dead in the middle.
Yeah, you know, I got this thing on ADHD, and I just bounce off the walls. I can't
Here
stand
you go.
still.
We are back, and this is not the Steve Noble Show. No, it really is, but this is Chris Connell filling in for Steve, a friend of his, and Steve is out today, so pray blessings on him and his family today. Today we're talking about life after death. What is life after death? In fact, one of my favorite Christian artists, Toby Mac, just released an album called Life After Death because his oldest son died of a drug overdose not long ago. And you know, that was that. And I thought about that album today when I was having Ron Shirley and his son Gabe came on because son and brother Alex passed away unexpectedly and unfortunately violently several months back. And I was shocked, honestly, that Ron, you were like, hey, I'm willing to come on. I mean, knowing you like I do, I felt like, okay, I probably wouldn't have asked anybody else that same question. I would have waited several years, but I felt like I wanted to say, hey, you know, what is it like? What's life like? So Alex, you know, passed away suddenly, unexpectedly. He had, for a portion of his life, really not been making great choices. He had started to walk away from that. What is the assurance, and why do you have assurance about Alex being in heaven?
Well, I was there the day he got saved. I was with him in a truck on the side of the road. You know, we can't judge salvation, but you always know when it's genuine. And it was ironic because there's a door in our house that never opens. It's in our dining room. And the night I come home from Alex being shot, I was standing there with my wife. And this door, we've been there 6 years. In 6 years, we might open that door in the living room, 3 times?
Maybe 3 times.
Always stays locked, never open. We're standing there, we're praying, we're talking, we're trying to just console each other. And Amy said, God, just let me know he's with you. And you know, God doesn't have to prove anything to us. You know, our whole job is Hebrews, 11:1, man, faith. Things that you can't see, but at that moment, there's no wind outside, there's no storm, and both doors blew open. And I don't know any other way to describe it than angelically.
Wow.
Both doors blew completely open, 2 doors, and we've never opened both. We've only opened one in our life. Both doors blew open, and Amy immediately quoted a verse out of Revelation which says, the door shall be open to you.
Wow.
And we knew that the doors to heaven had opened, and Alex had gone home. And since then, honestly, Chris, there's been 100 things I could tell you to tell me Alex is home.
Yeah.
But God has definitely reassured us in ways I can't describe.
Right.
That Alex is with him. And so, that's where we take rest.
Yeah.
That's where honestly, that's where we can relive, revive, and move forward, is because we know where Alex is and we know we'll see him again.
Yeah. And theologically, doctrinally, Alex is not in heaven because he was a good person.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, I don't say that.
No, absolutely not.
I don't say that's a reference to him
No,
personally, but I'm not a good person, and you're not a good person, Ron. Neither are you, Gabe, because the Word of God says none good is no, not one. So I want listeners to know that we're not saying that Alex is with God because Alex lived a perfect life. We're saying because he put his faith in Christ for the forgiveness of his sins, and that's where that comfort comes from. We were talking off the air a moment ago about the comfort that brings, knowing this life. Does this not make you realize like how short life is?
Makes you realize that you really only do live once, and to make sure that when you are living, to have fun, do things you enjoy, walk with Christ, and don't let a moment go by where it's not like, wow, I really should have been with my family instead of out here doing it, running with friends.
Yeah. Does it make you angry?
Yes, very angry. And I'm a hothead.
Yeah.
I'm short tempered.
That's the. Yeah. If you've ever watched Lizard Lake Towing, you've seen his parents. The apple is still attached to the tree. It hasn't even fallen off of it. So, but it does. So the reason why I ask that is I think sometimes that there's this fallacy that if you become a follower of Christ, that all your problems go away, and that's not even biblical. So you guys say, hey, I'm committed to Christ, but this is a very difficult thing to go through. You're angry. What about forgiveness? What about bitterness? What about this? My watch is talking to me. What about that question? How do you deal with that? Because I'm not sure. I have to be honest with you. If that was my son, if that was my brother, I don't know. That would not be easy for me.
I think forgiveness is the hardest part. I think forgiveness is the hardest part over anger, over bitterness, over just thinking about it. Forgiving the people who did it is the hardest part of the whole entire walk.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say, I'm pretty open about my past. And Chris, I was a pretty evil person. And I'm open about it. And God delivered me from a heck of a life. But I was that guy that would go kill your dog if you offended me, and I'm not being funny, and I don't say that with pride. I would kill animals, I would hurt you, I would tear your car up. I was that guy that would get my retribution. And when this happened for the first time since I've been saved, I will say I wanted retribution. And I will say that through my life and through the people that I've dealt with, Chris, that for a stack with $1,000, okay, I can make you disappear. 3 stacks, I'll make your family disappear. And I'm not trying to be funny, and I'm trying to say that with pride. I'm saying that the lifestyle I lived for all these years, and the business I lived, and the life I lived, it's not hard to get retribution. So the hardest part for me was forgiveness. And the day that I forgave the 2 gentlemen that took the life of Alex, and the day I forgave the mom that hid the guns, and the day I forgave the girl that drove that car, and the day I forgave the other gentleman that sat in the front seat that orchestrated the hit over $400 in hatred. My son died for $400. I'd have paid that 10 times over. But that day for me, when me and God had a talk, and he said, look, the one thing in this world that the devil wants you to do is hate. He said, everybody that hurts hates, and hate comes from hurt. So when you get hurt, you will hate, and when you hate, you will hurt. And that's something that God just revealed to me. I mean, when Cain killed Abel, it wasn't because he didn't love his brother. He got jealous of his brother, and he got to hate what happened to his brother. His brother got favor over him. In what, man? In a gift of God.
Yeah.
And so then he turned around and hurt his brother from hate. And God had to bring me to a place where he's like, Ron, you can't hate. You just can't. You can't hate. Because at the funeral that day, a very wise gentleman that goes to Cross Assembly looked at me and said, I'll never forget it. He said, Ron, I know what you're going to ask me. And I said, you have no idea what's going through my head. He said, you're going to ask me where God was when your son took his last breath. He said, you're going to ask me where God was when you watched the blood in the water, which I watched, go into the drain. You're going to ask me where God was when your son died. You're going to ask me where God was when the bullets entered his head, chest, and back. And I said, okay, you got me. That's what I want to know. And he said, Ron, God was in the same place he was when they put a sword in his son's side. He was in the same place he was when they put stakes through his arms. He was in the same place he was when his son took his last breath. See, God hasn't moved. And he watched his son die with all the abilities to take his son off. Now, if you could have stopped your son dying with you, and I looked at him and said, well, what father wouldn't? He said, your father wouldn't, so that we can all go to heaven. And that is the day I realized hate was not going to solve the problem. So, I can't speak for Gabe. I can't speak for Amy. But I feel that my family has forgiven these people. Do we hurt? Yeah. Are we angry? Absolutely. Jesus flipped over tables in anger, but in his anger he didn't sin. And I feel like, you can drop a couple stacks and make people disappear. Well, that's great, man. But you still hate, and the only person you hurt is you. Because, Chris, these kids' mamas...
Or 10 seconds.
These kids' mamas have sons that are in prison, so why hate?
Steve Noble's show, Life After Death. Ron Shirley, Gabe Shirley talk about the passing of their son and brother. Well done.
Cut me off quicker.
Sorry.
No, I'm saying cut me off.
All right. Well, I hate doing that.
Stop talking.
Please cut me
That's
off.
all
I
I got
was watching the
sometimes.
seconds. Well,
Sometimes
you
it's all
can't.
He don't stop.
I can't see him.
You can't hear the headphones. You don't have headphones. You can't hear it.
No,
So
I
Do you need to wear these? Because it's messing up my hair. You can wear these. I actually have hair.
Bo, I got a pocket. I got a switchblade in my pocket. It may be illegal. It may not. But I will trim it. But I mean that, man, Chris. The day that we talked about that at the funeral today, everybody was there. I mean, the hate's what consumes you.
yeah,
It's the hate.
yeah,
You can't hate him, man. He's got a mom. He's got brothers. They both got brothers and sisters.
yeah.
It's not their fault.
No.
And I'm not trying to say, I'm anybody. But man, the lifestyle I live, Chris, I can make people disappear like anybody else. Man, I lived on the streets. What does that serve? Does it serve my God? Does it serve my family? Who's gonna take care of this idiot?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm saying, who's gonna take care of this idiot and find him?
He does have expensive taste. I would say that.
I'm saying, but who's gonna, save his tail?
It probably comes in waves, doesn't it? Probably comes in. I've heard that from people. I don't know where it's like one moment you're fine, the next moment you're not fine. Or one moment something reminds you of them, or whatever.
Makes you think you're bipolar at some points.
You are bipolar.
I'm not bipolar. I'm not
You're like your
bipolar.
mom. You're just like your mom. Matter of fact, there's 7 days a month I question you. You are bipolar. For me, I'll be honest with you. For me, it's since the day Alex died, I don't think I've walked upstairs. I'm being serious. Have you seen me go upstairs?
Only
Oh,
the
in the mess with the AC?
Yeah, that's it.
Why?
I'm not ready.
Oh, his room's up there.
Not ready.
All right. Wow.
But That's just me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not ready. But I can talk about it. I can deal with it. I can talk to Amy and Gabe about it. I can talk to friends about it. I can talk to people I don't know about it. But I'm just not ready to go upstairs.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Pictures. I can't do pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend of mine who a few years ago his daughter passed, and he said he had to just stop going to the gravesite for a while. I said I just couldn't do it.
I've never been.
He said at first it helped, and then afterwards he said I felt really bad, and I said I don't think you should feel bad.
There's nothing
I said,
there.
She's not there.
There's nothing
you
there,
know,
bro.
But for some people that is comfortable.
I think Gabe's been
I've been a couple
a
times.
couple times.
Yeah.
I've yet to go. Since the day of the funeral, I have not gone. But I think people process it in different
Yeah.
ways. And for me, I think that honestly, I think the hurt, what I'm trying to avoid is that hurt.
Yeah.
Is I know it hurts, but I don't want to take that on other people. I don't want to take that on his family. I don't want to take
Yeah.
that on the guys that shot him. I
Well,
don't
it
want to
hurts
take that
you.
out,
It doesn't hurt them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
It
I don't
really
want
doesn't.
that to transfer, because if
No.
it transfers,
No, bitterness changes you.
it does.
It changes
And
you.
what?
in a
And
bad
how can
way.
you say that Christ is in you
Yeah.
if you hurt people? I'm
Yeah.
not saying how
The
can
Lord
you
always
say?
reminds me of my own shortcomings
Yep.
in those moments.
And that's why I don't go. And eventually I will. I mean, eventually we'll have a good time. And come February we'll probably go out there. But the last time I saw my son, he was cutting a birthday cake, and it's weird. But since then, you can't cut a cake around me. I'm gone.
Wow.
And it sucks because Maggie has birthdays, Gabe has birthdays, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just I think everybody deals it in their own way. Gabe luckily has football now. I think that helps.
So you got about 20 seconds.
Yeah, I didn't have football.
Football
I think-
helps.
Yeah, I got in a fight in school around football.
About 15 seconds so we're back on.
Knock some kid.
When it gets to 50, we'll be back on 50
Yeah.
seconds.
But I think football helps. I really
Football
do.
helps.
I mean, I think getting
You just need to hurt
out.
people? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, play somebody out. Play somebody
Okay.
hard.
Here we go.
You want to check that phone, make sure it's okay, buddy?
Yeah.
So you're listening to not the Steve Noble Show. It really is. This is Chris Connell filling in for Steve.
Chris Connell, who's taken over the Steve
Yeah, I'm
Noble Show.
coming for you, Steve. So this is a really serious conversation with some good friends about life after death, what it's like to lose someone, and this is not ancient history, this is recent history, and Alex Shirley passed away suddenly, violently. Because of his faith in the Lord, he's in heaven, but you still got to live with the residuals here on earth. We were talking about forgiveness. We're talking about how difficult that is. Is everybody in your family dealing with the passing of Alex the same way? Are they all dealing with it in different ways?
No, all different ways. Everybody's different. Me and my mom deal with it a little similar, but between Maggie and my dad.
Maggie's very quiet, writes
Yeah.
poems.
Because say again, please forgive me. Say again how old Alex was. Was he
Alex was 21.
21? I thought it was 21.
21.
Just up the drinking age.
Maggie writes poems. She kind of talks to Alex still in her own way. Gabe and Amy, really very similar. Very
Yeah.
similar. Very
You write poems?
whatever he
No.
gets on.
I wrote poems to him when he was alive to push him through his drugs and everything he was dealing with. But after he passed away, I don't want to touch writing him a poem.
Wow. Wow.
Me, I'm more standoffish. I use I try to find the greater glory in it, and I know that sounds horrible to say the greater glory in death, but death is a glorious thing.
Yeah.
It says when one soul enters heaven, the entire angels in heaven rejoice. I mean, all the angels rejoice. So I try to find the greater glory and just try to avoid the negativity at this point. But I think we all handle it pretty differently.
Yeah. Isn't God supposed to keep us from stuff like this? I mean, if you're a follower of Christ, aren't you supposed
No.
to be protected from all this kind of stuff?
I think when you become a follower of Christ, your life gets 20 times harder.
Why is that?
I think Satan comes at you way harder. Temptation, people you hang around start doing stuff they did worse when you knew them before you were closer to God. I think everything just gets worse, and that's what makes it or breaks it. That's what determines how strong you're going to be with God, how dedicated you are, how close you're going to be, and if He's going to show He's really there for you or not.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm proud.
That was well said.
Very proud.
Yeah, well said.
Your mom did a good job.
You laugh a lot. Do you talk about funny things that Alex did? Do you remember him in those ways as well?
I do a lot. I look at like pictures, like he went through an emo stage, so I look at pictures of that and sit there and make fun of him.
Just like a younger brother would do. It's never too late to make fun of your older brother.
You know, man, that's so funny. I was looking at a picture of him the other day at 13 when he had the black hair and black fingernails. That's funny. And I don't look at pictures. For me, I'm not into pictures yet really, but like some of our hunting trips, I'll sit down there and look at some of the stuff he did on our hunting trips and some of the trophies we have, and I remember the stories, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's really kind of cool, but you know, it's to me, and everybody's different, but to me, the stories we've made since his death, I've seen, and I'm not saying it's because of Alex, so only God can bring you to God, only Jesus can bring you to a cross. But his death, I've seen on first-hand basis with me and Amy and some of the things we've been able to do through God's grace. I've seen at least 30 different people come to Christ, and through Alex's story, and that's in my own experience.
Amazing.
Yeah, and one of them was a 96-year-old lady, and I saw a 13-year-old child. So we've seen both ends of the spectrum, and I'm not saying it's because of Alex, but his story helped them find Jesus. And so, you know, for me, that's what I look at. That's the stories and the pictures I look at. You know, a 96-year-old woman, she's definitely at the end of her days. And, you know, just knowing she's going home is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. We're not trying to make fun of people who are bipolar, but there is someone that said to your defense, Gabe, that Ronnie is the one with bipolar.
Oh no, he most definitely is. He most definitely
And that
is.
is a serious condition. We take it seriously, but anyway.
I am not bipolar. I know both poles, the north and the south. All right? And I'm split dead in between them. I'm in North Carolina. I'm close to him. I'm close to that line.
So we're talking about life after death, passing of a loved one. I want to go back to the topic of forgiveness for a moment, because I'm sure there are people listening, or future listeners, that will listen to the podcast or watch on the TikTok video Ron's doing live here. And maybe it's not even a death of a loved one, but it's something that somebody did to someone and it hurt bad. Is forgiveness something you feel like doing? Is it a feeling? Is it a choice? Is it something you do one time? You do it multiple times?
I feel like it's more of an action. You know, you hear the saying, actions speak louder than words. I think when you forgive somebody, the way I would do it is through an action. You show that you forgive them. You talk to them. You let them know. You reassure that you forgive them. Doesn't mean you have to be friends with them. Doesn't mean you have to sit there and be there for all their needs. But it tells me you forgive them. The hatred you had for them or the dislike you had for them goes away. And I think that's what you should do when you forgive somebody.
Sometimes easier said than done.
I will, you know, man, I'll say, and you hit it on the head, man, it's everybody hates because of hurt. Somebody's hurt you. There's people out there right now that are hurt because somebody left them, somebody did them wrong, somebody stole from them, somebody lied to them, somebody left them, somebody died, somebody killed somebody. All hate, I don't care what kind of hate it is, even racial hate, comes from hurt. Somebody's convinced you that another race is taking something from you. All hate comes from hurt. And if you can learn to forgive hurt, and again, I agree with Gabe 100%, you do it with actions, because anybody can say, I forgive you. Yes, I forgive you. No, you don't. How's your heart feel? You know, where's your mind at? If I died tomorrow, would you care? Do you care if I'm going to heaven or hell? I mean, do you really forgive me, or are you saying that so that you can sleep at night? And I honestly, I guess I think today's been a great day for me already, because my son's become more of a teacher than a student.
Yeah.
And I think that actions are going to tell you everything. And I think everything in the Bible that God did, He showed people He forgave them with the life of His Son.
I would argue that some levels, and if you know about the story of Corrie ten Boom, who was her family was murdered in the Nazi concentration camps.
Yeah.
You know, and she at one point in her life came face to face with the prison guard that was responsible for the death of her sister, and she was able to forgive. I think there are levels of forgiveness that require an act of God in someone's life. I just do. I if you step on my toe, I don't think that takes an act of God for me to say, hey, you were stepping on my foot. But those kind of egregious acts, I mean, do you feel like it takes God moving in someone's life and giving them the perspective of the way God looks at us to enable them? Because sometimes people want to forgive, but they don't feel like they have the ability to forgive.
It definitely determines how close you are with God, but I think it also determines time. When stuff happens, you can't just, I don't think people expect you to forgive them right then and there, or maybe in a week, maybe in a month. I think it determines when God is ready for you to do that. When God is there to push you over the edge and be like, hey, it's time that you need to forgive them.
Yeah.
I don't think there is forgiveness without God.
Yeah.
I don't think you can truly forgive anyone for something that has hurt you in a way that you can't recover from without a supernatural intervention of God. And I know the story you told, and I think that's a great story. I'll tell you the one that always resonates with me is the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan was at a restaurant one day, and I actually got to meet this man, and an African-American preacher walked in, and the Grand Wizard had a piece of chicken. And he walked in, the African-American had a piece of chicken. And he walked in and he said, whatever you do to that chicken, I'm going to do to you. And that pastor sat there for a minute, and he looked up at the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and he kissed the chicken. And I'm not being funny. But the man said, whatever you do to that chicken, I'm going to do to you, that piece of chicken. And he kissed the chicken. And it was at that moment that God intervened in that Grand Wizard's life and said, hey man, it's time you forgive. You know, those two guys ended up becoming best friends, and they ended up running ministries together. But how can somebody who has that much hate in their heart over skin color and that much hate in their heart over lifestyle forgive somebody over a piece of chicken? As crazy as that sounds. But when that man kissed that piece of chicken, it changed his life. And I honestly, as crazy as that sounds, Chris, I only think that's a supernatural thing. I don't think we can do that on our own. I don't think our minds can comprehend stuff like that.
Yeah, I believe it takes God moving in our life and giving us a perspective, because holding unforgiveness just makes you bitter in the end. Is there joy and laughter after death?
Most definitely. I think joy is the best medicine. This is going to sound bad, but when we were there, I was one of Alex's casket bearers, and I looked at all our cousins that were casket bearing also, and I said, this is the last time you get to make fun of Alex.
Yeah.
And I think we all stood there and cracked the last joke and all laughed.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that happens when people pass is people don't know how to talk to the loved ones. And we're going to talk about this. The music's coming to my ear, so we're going to have to go on break here. But when we come back, I'd love for two things. One, I'd love to talk about how people should interact with people who've lost a loved one, because sometimes people don't know what to say or do. And two, I'd like to pray for those who are going through a difficult time. Listen to the Steve Noble Show, Life After Death, with Ron and Gabe Shirley, talk about the passing of son and brother Alex suddenly 7 months ago. We'll be right back.
Prayers, boy. You learned a lot from me, ain't you?
Oh, whatever.
You've done a good job.
He is doing great.
I feel like Abraham. And I'm up there. I mean, I wouldn't sacrifice you. I mean, I might give you up, ain't gonna lie, $1 million for you tip me.
All right, Emily Conkle said Gabe is an impressive young man. He's not available, Emily. I just want you to know that right now.
He will be after next week.
I will be available.
You know, if your girlfriend is watching this show, you just shot yourself in the foot.
You're gonna be in trouble.
Oh Lord, have mercy, boy. Wow.
Are you guys? Are there any family traditions that are gonna form out of this and remembering Alex?
I ain't thought about that. I mean, we probably got to come up with something, man. You know, we called him Big Sur.
Yeah.
That's what he called himself. So I'm sure we'll set up a Big Sur day, or it's funny because Amy gave me a necklace, and Alex was the only kid I had to call me Diddy. So it's kind of funny because some of the kids will come up sometimes. They'll be like, "What's up, Diddy?" So there's little things,
Yeah.
That'll come out of it. But I don't know if we'll have a tradition. I mean, that boy was so.
Yeah.
It was too wild.
There's too much stuff. There's too many crazy memories of that cat. I mean,
He's like my shirt. That would be our tradition.
I'm telling you, I said that cat lived. He lived. But I tell you, I will say this, Chris, and not because he's my son. I never saw him not make somebody laugh. Pastor Chad come over after killing a deer. Had no idea he was my son, and Alex was all over, and it was funny, you know, because Alex said, oh, there's a dead deer, let's look at the deer. But when he left, Chad left, he come back and said, who was that crazy kid in your yard? I was like, that's my oldest boy. He's like, no, never mind, I see it now. You know? But that's the kind of kid he was, man. He was just wide open all the time. He just brought joy. He had his demons. Now, don't get me wrong, that boy had his demons, and, you know, he was finally beating his demons. He got out the gang, he got off the drugs, he got a job, he's working at Amazon. He got a car. He was finally beating those demons. And, you know, that's when they're going. The devil's coming when you get on top of your game. It's when he's after.
Yeah.
He definitely still speaks to us though.
How so?
Well, I mean, for one, in my opinion, the way I thought recently was he worked at Amazon. He was a box loader. He did the boxes. About a week ago, Alex knew before he passed away, he rode in my truck one time. He knew that right then that my truck is my baby. I love it. I had an Amazon box holder back into my truck. And I said, that's something Alex would do. I said, it's got to be Alex speaking to me and telling me to control my anger. And just be okay.
What color is the truck, Gabe? Is it? I know pink's your favorite color because, let me see.
Yeah, that's his Mace right there. That's
This
his
is
Mace.
Gabe's key.
There you go.
And this is your pink Mace.
That's the one I use on my mom.
Yeah. You know, it's supposed to be used by ladies against guys.
It is. Gabe might. I mean, I'm just saying that. What is it? The pronouns now?
Oh God. Too much to remember.
I can't believe your mom didn't kill you.
Sometimes
Oh,
I think
she
my
tried.
mom
She
did.
couldn't see get him.
Because your dad doesn't make me nervous, but I wouldn't want to make your mom
Don't worry.
mad.
I got it back that night. I laid down on my bed
Oh,
and
my gosh.
I felt something burning. I think I got some on my bed.
I laughed so
I was
hard.
like, oh my gosh.
He sprayed her from 6 inches.
Yeah, I wasn't far.
And I'm talking about ended half a tube.
Why?
She scared him.
She scared me.
She kept going upstairs, Chris, and turning the water on in his bathroom and run out the other door.
Right.
And Gabe thought that a ghost was turning the water on or something. So then she hides behind the door and she turns the water on, and Gabe has got the mace, and when she jumps out, he's like,
Well, I will say she got lucky because usually when I'm home alone, I grab a gun.
yeah.
But I couldn't find a gun.
Oh, thank gosh. But she come running down the stairs, fell down. All I heard was boom, 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 boom. Child, Ronnie! I said, what's wrong? Your son has sprayed me with mace. I had to put her in the shower with all the clothes on.
That stuff doesn't come off easily,
Look,
does it?
you gotta pour milk. I know it sounds crazy, I don't have beer in my house, but beer is the number one thing to take mace out, something alcohol. And all I had was milk. So I'm pouring milk in her face in the shower, and you know what she gets mad about?
What?
I threw in the shower with her nice clothes. So now I'm in trouble
And
because
you started playing with
Gabe's
her hair.
with mace, and her hair's
Her hair's
wet,
getting wet.
and I got her shirt messed up.
She's like, I just got my hair done.
I
I'm
just
like,
got my hair done. Yeah, Alex thought that was, you know, that's something Alex would have just died over right there. I'm being serious. That's something Alex would have died over.
Yeah. And she never got you back.
20 seconds.
Not yet.
All right, well, in 20 seconds.
She's still debating it.
Oh, it's coming.
Last
It's
segment.
coming.
It's coming. Oh, it's coming. That's coming. 100% that's coming.
That's funny. Paint the truck pink.
Or, I prefer purple.
There you go.
Purple's my favorite
I
color.
want some people.
Oh, yeah.
You are listening to Not the Steve Noble Show. This is Chris Conlon filling for Steve. And we're having a great time here today, but we're talking about a very difficult subject, life after death, with my guest, Ron Shirley, Liz Lichtoen, and his son, Gabe, and we're talking about the sudden passing of son and brother, Alex. And you guys have been very vulnerable, so thank you. You talked about a difficult subject, so thank you. How should people talk about someone that's passed away? Because sometimes people say dumb things, or sometimes they say nothing. So do you like it when somebody walks up and says, hey man, I really miss Alex, or I think about Alex, or would you rather just not be reminded of it?
It depends on the day. Depends on the time. It depends on if that 1 week between where he died at, if it's that time of the month. But usually it's okay. The thing I don't enjoy is when people are like, I'm always here for you. Like, yeah, I love that, but you don't really know my pain because you've never had a brother or sister or that close a relative pass.
Right.
It's like, you don't really feel what I feel. You can tell me you do, but I know you don't. You can tell me that you're going to know exactly what to say, and I'm going to think in my head, no, you don't. You don't know.
Yeah.
And it gets rough. I've had people try and talk to me about it, and I talk to him like he's still here, and that's the only way I can get people to understand. Because if you start speaking like he's not here, they don't understand because they've never lost somebody that close, that sentimental, that person.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, as rough as he was, I think Alex was my hero. I think I would look up to Alex.
Yeah.
So when people talk about how he died and what happened, it's just a rough subject because I'm like, that was my hero. Like most people, their hero is their dad, and my dad, he's up there. Boy, my mom. But Alex he was my hero.
Who's up there more, mom or dad?
Oh, mom. Definitely mom.
I'm a mama's boy.
Definitely mom. Mom is like, ooh, way up there.
Ron, what about you? Do you like when people come up and say, hey, man, I'm just thinking about Alex, or hey, I'm praying for you, or, you know, because sometimes people say dumb things.
Well, you know, what you have to remember is usually they say it with a kind heart.
Yeah.
And most of them are being very sincere and very genuine. So, you know, I'm always appreciative. I think Amy, I can't speak again for her, but I feel like we're always appreciative when people come up and say, hey, sorry for your loss, da 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 da. It gets a little annoying when they want to continue the conversation because if I don't know you on a one-to-one basis, it's hard for me to open my heart to you on that one subject. Any other subject we can talk about.
What about ketchup that's supposed to be in the fridge, Ron?
I mean, that's not a subject. That's a known fact. Don't you
On the
agree
counter.
with that?
Sits on the counter.
Always.
So wrong.
I mean, I'm just
You're
saying.
both wrong.
That's not even a subject. That's like
It's like trying to put hot sauce in the refrigerator.
yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean,
Hot sauce is in the
It does not
refrigerator.
work, no.
it gets cold and it's not hot.
Y'all don't know.
Look,
It
that's an
tastes good.
Chris, oxymoron. Hot sauce, cold refrigerator.
You just called me an ox and a moron?
No, well, I said, you know, something. But you know, honestly, I'm so appreciative of it. The one thing I would say, and I mean this sincerely, is when you lose someone, do not, and I mean this with all my heart, try to contact them. Do not go to seers and shapeshifters and tarot readers, and do not go to mediums, and do
Why?
not go to people, because honestly, you are opening a door to the demonic realm.
I agree.
Since Alex has left, we've had several family members that have come to us and said, you know, we spoke to Alex. And I've had to look at them and say, I love you with all my heart. But that was a demon you were speaking to.
Yeah.
That was not our son, because our son is nowhere near there. And there is a chasm between heaven and hell. There's a chasm between those waiting to get to heaven and Hades.
Yeah.
And so many people want to reach out to the dead. So the one thing I would say is it's okay to give condolences and leave it at condolences. But do not, in any matter of fact, whether you lose a child, a husband, a spouse, a mother, father, I don't care, a sibling, do not reach out to them for they're not there. And that has probably been the most trying things I've had, because I've had so many people come to me and Amy and say, hey, would you like me to contact your son for you? Well, unless your name is God or Jesus Christ, I doubt that's even a possibility.
Right.
But the fact to put that in our life right now is just not something we're interested in.
Wow.
And you don't want to be ugly about it.
Right.
Because maybe they believe that.
Yeah,
But,
their motivations are...
You got to be careful there. You do. Their motivations might be pure, but you got to be careful, because once you go down that road, it's hard to come back. And that's something we've had to learn, because, like I said, we've had some very close family members try that. And it's just, hey, man, he's not there, you know?
You know, one of the things, I remember making a decision to follow Christ when I was about 11 years old, and then really kicked in when I was a teenager. And I remember vividly when my grandmother, my mom's mom, died in 1991, and really godly woman. I mean, just really influential. Started a Christian school, and everybody called her mom, and she just was one of those women that I wished my kids had all been able to meet, because she just had that kind of influence. But when I got the phone call she died, it was really interesting, because it was the very first time in my life, and I was in college at the time, that the reality of heaven meant something to me. Like, it personally had weight. And I remember thinking, I'm going to see her again. I remember thinking, this is not the end. This hurts, but I'm going to see her again. And that was not, at her funeral, the minister got up, Reverend Rott, and he got up and he said something. I've actually said at several funerals myself when I've done funerals. He said, my grandma's name was Vivian. He said, if you know Jesus, this is not goodbye. But if you don't know Jesus, this is the last time you will ever see Vivian Weller again. I still remember that.
Wow.
So that hope, right, is not a hope based in feeling. That hope is based on an empty tomb 2,000 years ago. It's based on the fact that God so loved the world that he gave the only begotten Son. whosoever should believe in him would not perish but have everlasting life. It's not a hope in vain. Jesus of Nazareth walked the planet. It's a fact. It's not faith for that. But so that hope, man, it becomes a real reality in your daily life when you lose someone you love.
I might be one of the most emphatic things you've ever said. I mean, honestly, on the show, and we've had several serious conversations, but that's strong. And only thing I can say is, and this is just my opinion, I'm not like you, a theological scholar.
I don't consider myself that either. But
when Jesus came back and he went to the upper room, everyone recognized him.
Yeah.
When Jesus walked on the road with the two strangers, before he departed, they recognized him. Mm-hmm. Every time Jesus appeared, they recognized him. When the great prophets of the Old Testament appeared, they recognized him. Mm-hmm. And I say that to say that I believe that emphatically, because when we go to heaven, I truly think that the ones that left before us will recognize us, and I think we'll recognize them. And I base that off the fact that the disciples recognized the resurrected Jesus.
Yes.
And I truly think that God, making us in his own image, when we go there, we might not remember our past, and we might not remember our sins, and might not remember it's our brother or sister or son or daughter, but we're going to know him.
Yeah.
And I think that when the disciples recognized Jesus, that is the one story in the Bible that when I think about the death of Alex, and when I cross that gate, I'll recognize him.
Yeah. Amen.
And so, man, it's a shame, because it's like, when you just said, if you didn't know Jesus, you'll never see her again.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a hard one right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, to me, that if there's no other reason to believe in Jesus other than the fact that we get to reunite with those that do.
Yeah.
And if that's the only reason that brings you to the Bible to read and start to believe, I mean, man, what other cause you need, man? Because if you truly love someone, you'll do anything for them.
Yeah.
And if I could give my life to Alex, I'm sure
Yeah.
we would.
Absolutely.
But, man, if we give our life to God, we get to chill with Alex again. We get to see Big Sur again. So
Yeah.
I can live with that.
You ever think about some of the people that he's getting to hang out with?
Oh God.
I don't know if Elvis and Michael Jackson are up there, but if they are, that mug is chilling.
Yeah.
But you got to think, man. I mean, Alex is sitting up there with some of the greats. I mean, not to be funny, man, but besides being the fact that he can see over to Jesus' throne room and probably catch a glimpse every now and then of him walking by, I mean, man, you get to be with some of the great evangelicals of all time. You get to be with John the Baptist, Billy Graham. I mean, dude, you get to be with some of the great, the musicians. I know where Alex is at. Anybody that was into Christian rap, Alex is over there with them mugs now trying to write,
Most definitely.
He's
I don't
there.
know. I don't think rap's in heaven. I'm not sure it's there.
I think all kinds of things. You know what? Earlier when we started the show, you know who you mentioned?
Who's that?
Toby Mac.
Oh, that's true.
What's Toby Mac do?
He's a musician.
And he does a lot of rap.
Yeah, he does.
Remember when he was in DC Talk?
Yeah, but probably not country music.
Oh, no, country music's up there, 100%.
Yeah, he's probably right.
I don't think it may.
I would say with the country people.
I don't think Alex will be on the countryside. Yeah, he's gonna be more on the Toby Mac
He'll
side.
find like the
Because
Christian
you can't
culture.
sing in heaven about your truck dying, your dog dying, and your wife leaving you, right? So you can't even.
Is Carmen still alive? Is Carmen still living?
Jesus is the champion.
If Carmen's not living, he's chilling with Carmen. That's what he's at.
One day, right, we're going to get to see our Lord and Savior face to face, right? And as hard as it is for me to understand, he says, wipe every tear from our eye, right?
True.
And that all injustice will be made right. And I have to take comfort because this world is messed up. And you've got a lot of people that are listening to the show that are dealing with messed up situations. And some of them have the hope of Christ, some don't. What would you say to someone who didn't know Jesus and was going through a difficult time right now? We got 1 minute to close out.
I would say, in the words of Eminem, you get one shot. What you gonna do with it? You get one chance. Don't blow it. One shot. One shot to see him again. One shot to serve. One shot to love. One shot at eternity. You get one shot.
You've been listening to the Steve Noble Show. This is Chris Connell, our guest, Ron Shirley, Gabe Shirley. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate you guys. That's not an easy topic to talk about, life after death. If you don't know Jesus, right where you are, you can simply turn to him now, confess that you're a sinner, and look to him and say, forgive my sin and take me to heaven with you when I die. This is the Steve Noble Show. He'll be back Monday. Thanks for listening.
You know, throwing in the one-shot rap lyrics was tight.
I almost said, in the words of Eminem, with the real Slim Shady, please stand up.
And it's crazy.
I was like, how is Ron going to spiritualize the real Slim Shady?
As crazy as that is, there ain't but one.
Yeah.
That's God. I mean, I'm serious. All the imitators, all the perpetrators. I mean, really, there's only one Slim.
All right. Hey, Steve always closes out with prayer with the
please.
Facebook folks, so we're going to do that now. Is that okay?
Oh, man, please.
Gabe, you want to pray us out?
I can pray this out.
All right.
Done speaking this thing?
Yep.
Okay. God, I would just like to come to you today and thank you for everything that you've done for us, letting us unite with all these people, even though we're not in person. They can just listen to us, and maybe we help somebody today or help somebody get one step closer to you, God, just one step better at whatever they're going through, or one step mentally that they're going to be okay, that they know that you're there for them, and you'll always be there for them, no matter if they're struggling with drugs, alcohol, family issues, anything, God. I'd just like to thank you for letting us come on this show today and being there and giving us the wisdom to say the right things, God. And I just pray that you put your healing hand and guardian angels over us, God, today, tomorrow, forever, and know that no matter what, we're going to see our loved ones again, God. Doesn't matter where it is. And just please forgive us of all the sins that we're going to commit today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.